All right, let me admit them in. So I'm bringing them in already. In the spotlight, both of you. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for joining us for our webinar. This is the Power to Know monthly webinar. And if you have ever joined us, you will know that you are in for a great time. So I'm saying good evening, good morning, good afternoon from whatever part of the world you're joining us. You're joining us from. We're so excited to have you join us this evening. We have our speakers ready in the house. You can see that I've spotlighted them already. But please let us know in the chat in just 1-2 minutes where you're joining us from. I see Isaiah in the room. Thank you so much for joining us. I see Mofe Olua in the room. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Please let us know where you're joining us from. Oh, Isaiah is joining us from London. Isaiah, good evening. Hope you're doing well. Mofe Olua, good evening. Oh, from Nigeria. Okay, that's where I'm speaking from. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. Please, if you know anyone that should be with us this evening, kindly let them know we're live. Faith, please put it on all our social media platforms that we are live and we're ready to go on with the journey for the webinar tonight. Please let me know that you are ready in the chat. Our speakers are ready, and in just a few minutes, I'll be handing over to them. But just before I do that, we want you to know a bit about Power to Know, which is the organization bringing you the webinar this evening on this beautiful September. Yeah, it's September 29th. We're already wrapping up the month. So it's a good way to end the month. I'll be playing our profile shortly so that you get to know more about us. All right, let's go. Please let me know in the chat once you can see my screen and you can hear the sound. I think that should be up now. Okay. All right, let me admit them in. So I'm bringing them in already.
Power to Know is the best place for comprehensive financial and life coaching. The goal of assisting clients in building wealth while lowering risks and taxes. We provide science-based investing methods, personalized coaching, and education to enable people and businesses to become financially independent. In a time when financial environments are changing quickly and personal development is crucial, we are here to give you the tools you need to succeed.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay, you can hear me now. So sorry, I noticed a brief interference. So I had to stop and I'll be starting all over again. Just
Power to Know is the best place for comprehensive financial and life coaching. The goal of assisting clients in building wealth while lowering risks and taxes. We provide science-based investing methods, personalized coaching, and education to enable people and businesses to become financially independent. In a time when financial environments are changing quickly and personal development is crucial, we are here to give you the tools you need to succeed. We are here to equip you with the skills you need to thrive. You are at the center of our strategy. We believe that each individual is unique, and we tailor our coaching to meet your specific needs and goals. Whether you are looking to build wealth, enhance your career, or navigate life transitions, Our team of expert coaches is available to guide and support you. We believe that accountability is key to success. Our goal-oriented methodology guarantees that you not only establish goals but also make concrete progress toward accomplishing them. We believe that everyone has the potential to achieve greatness, and we are committed to helping you unlock that potential. With our guidance and support, you will gain the confidence and skills you need to take control of your financial future and live the life you deserve. Join us on this life-changing journey and discover the power of skills building, accountability, action planning, goal setting, and feedback and reflection with Power to Know.
All right, so we're good to go. I'll be handing over straight away to Coach Mo. We have Coach Mo in the house. Please celebrate. Please help me celebrate them. And we also have Coach Augusta ready to give it to us tonight in a way that you would understand clearly. So please help me welcome them in the chat as we start off with our webinar this evening. Good evening once again, Coach Augusta. Good evening, Coach Mo. I'm sure you're ready for us. All right, over to
Good
you,
evening.
sir.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much, Mrs. B. Thank you very much. Coach Augusta, it's good to see you. Thank you very much for your time and honoring an invitation. You are our special guest tonight. And before we start, see, I know Coach Augusta, but the world out there don't really know much about Coach Augusta. They don't know we have a best-selling author in the house, not just one, I think is about 2 books. They don't know the amazing things you do, especially for the youths in the UK and all over the world. So, Coach Augusta, can you please just tell us a little bit about yourself and just let people know exactly who is Coach Augusta and what is I want it to be from the horse's mouth, like they say.
Thank you for that very kind introduction. Yeah, so I'm Augusta, and my company name is Ogimono, and I'm also a financial literacy coach. I'm based in the UK, and I've been doing that for a few years now. Yes, I'm an author, not best-selling, but I'm an author. And I predominantly work with young people and parents, and I teach them about financial literacy, how to just do the best with regards to managing their finances. Yeah, I have run events for young people, for teenagers, especially teen girls and teen boys, aged from 12 to 18. And we have some fun time together. Yeah, so that's what I do.
Thank you very much, Coach. Coach Augusta has just been very, very modest. That's what you're hearing from her. It's you focus on a particular, demography that seems nobody's really when it comes to financial literacy, people don't really look at them. There are not many books written for teens. There are not many coaches out there that are actually looking out there to begin to equip these young people who are actually the future of tomorrow. These are the people that are equipped to thrive in the world we're currently in. These are the people that grew up in the world of internet, iPhones, digital stuff, and all of these things. So these are the best people to be well equipped. Someone told me, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I was in a car and we were talking about what I do, and I was like, you know something, you will put twice as much effort into training older people about money, or you will put half that effort into educating the younger generation because they are still very, 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 very fresh in terms of they're receptive, they're looking for knowledge out there. So what you do is really, really great and do appreciate that. So thank you for the time today. So, oh yeah, you're going to be a best-selling. I can see it in the spirit already. So that's why I'm speaking for what it is as it's going to be. So thank you for it today. Today, this month in Power to Know, we're talking about we started 2 months ago, we talked about debts last month. This month we're talking about credit. And this is one thing that people actually wonder that, okay, coach, you talked about debts, you talk about credit. What is the relationship between both? And I don't know the same. And I tell people debt and credit are two different things, in terms of that, in terms of debt, credit. Do you just want from your perspective? There are a lot of people out there who are probably to start with kind of like a little bit confused about the difference the difference between the or if you could just tell us the difference between what is credit and what is debt, and just give us a bit of just touch on just educate us in simple layman's term like you.
Okay, I'll try my best. So for me, credit is actually an opportunity that we can see as a way of building wealth. It is, I think there's a myth behind it being just a debt. It becomes a debt when we mismanage it, when we maybe overuse or abuse it. But really and truly, we can use it to build wealth. It can be, so when we think specifically about good credit in inverted quotes, we're thinking about mortgages, student loans. So student loans is a loan that you use in terms to help you, to get through your education. But at the same time, it's an opportunity for you to gain skills and go into a better career. For a mortgage, we go into debt, if you like, or you take a loan to buy a property. And so that's deemed to be good credit. Yep. So I think debt it's all about mismanaging your funds and mismanaging money that you have access to, not paying credit on time, not paying what you've borrowed on time. That's what I'll deem to be people getting into debt.
Thank you. You said a particular word that is very, very, you sum it up in a sense whereby credit, it's a leverage that could be used. When you abuse it, it gets you into debt. And I just caught that. It's just like, I just caught that straight away. But today we're actually talking about credit versus cash, because there's this, the economy, especially if you live in the West, it's a credit-based economy. You cannot do everything by cash, but most of Africa, it's actually a cash-based economy. You don't have the cash. I know if cash is catching up. Nigeria is really, there are a lot of credit facilities around Nigeria, but not at the same rate and not as accessible. So when you look at the credit environment and the cash environment, I guess my first question is going to go in terms of, can you explain the key differences between both in terms of you using cash and you using credit, the pros and the cons, and if you actually to say, okay, which would you think is better than the other, and what scenario do you think one is better than the other?
Okay, so there are different times that you should use cash. So cash can be used to pay for like your everyday expenses. Cash can be used to pay for maybe small purchases, but you can actually use credit for bigger purchases. Credit can be used in place of cash where you need quick access. So you can take time to build up your cash. You can take time in terms of maybe saving enough money to buy a larger purchase, maybe for a car or something. You actually take your time to build up funds to be able to acquire an asset like that. Credit is usually used when you're trying to make a large purchase to buy a property. So for me, I don't believe that there is one is better than the other. I believe that you can use both. And I believe that we have to be mindful about how to use both. I think sometimes people use credit in place of cash, where you can actually you can use your cash to buy your everyday expenses, but some people might turn to their credit card, maybe because at that time they're short of funds. So it's an easy thing to just take a credit card out and just pay for maybe clothes or simple items like that. That is not the time to use credit card or use credit facilities. Credit facilities should really be reserved for larger like assets to help you build wealth. And I think credit can be used in terms of, if you believe, you can use credit within a certain period of time when you know that you'll be able to cover that balance within a month, for example, instead of using cash. So you have to have a plan in place. If you decide to choose or go down the credit route, you do have to have a plan in place, and your mindset has to be like, it should be part of maybe your cash flow. So it should be part of, if you've got a plan of how you pay your monthly expenses, the credit facility that you might choose to use should be a part of that plan. So at the end of the month, you clear off that balance. So it's part of your a listed bill, if you like, that you clear off. You might use it, you clear it off at the end of the month, but it shouldn't be the first thing you go to buy clothing, to buy everyday expenses, to pay simple bills. You should be able to really use your cash for those kind of things. And then you turn to credit for your larger, major purchases, I would say.
Coach Augusta, you said so many things in there, and this is now me playing back. I've got a number of students who just moved to the UK, and most of them from Nigeria or other African countries. And where they're coming from, there's no access to credit. But once they got to the UK, there's access to credit. And this is the question everyone is asking me. So, Coach, what do you say? Is it good for me to take credit or to not take credit? And what you've just said there is, it is not either or. It's about you being able to understand, number one, it's what is the purpose it's for. That's very clear. You don't just use credit because, oh, the next thing I can find in my card, my wallet is it's a credit card, or you don't just use it because you want to use it for consumption. You were very particular about the word, number one, the bigger asset items. So what I'm hearing from you say there is you should actually leverage credit when it's towards bigger purchase of assets rather than more of day-to-day liability, and ensuring you actually build that within your cash flow, monthly cash flow, but not build your monthly cash flow on top. Did I summarize that very well?
Yeah.
What is very interesting there is 2 weeks ago, I had someone said something to me. They're like, okay, they are in the UK, and then the UK is a credit-based system, and then they want to get a credit card. They want to use credit card to build the system because that's the best way for them to build that credit score. And I was telling them that, look, one thing about credit there is it's easier for you to access credit, but the problem with most people there is they don't have the financial muscle and discipline to ensure that credit does not become a debt burden on them. And what you're trying to create is a good credit score. You will eventually damage it in the process of your lack of maturity of getting a credit card that eventually you misspent, you don't manage it properly, and it becomes a bigger debt, and then you're now going to default. And it's interesting because the credit, I told the person that the credit you try to create can be damaged and remain damaged for 6 years by just one misuse of one credit, and is being able to be aware of that particular part. So thank you very much for bringing that on. So for somebody who's just starting up now, Coach, just like they're just fresh into financial journey, this aha moment we've all had in the past, whereby, you know what, enough is enough. I need to get my life straight. It's those resolution we all write when it's 31st, but at whatever point in time we write that resolution that, okay, I'm about to get to the journey. What are some of the safe ways you think is good to build credit without falling into that debt trap? What are some of the ways that by all means, these are not financial advices, but just in terms of, from your experience, what are the simple things you think people could do that they could actually, as people who are just new to this financial journey, how they could probably use that to build their credit history without falling into the trap of they getting into debt?
Okay, I think it's a great idea to try and build a credit history. But at the same time, I think there are so many offers out there, and we have to be careful about credit cards. You definitely have to be very careful about that. I think if you're starting off, I will say start with a small amount. So say, for example, the maximum limit on that card is £300. If you were going to, if that's the route that you've chosen to go down, you can start with a small amount. But the thing is, if you do try to purchase something, say, for example, people have said this in the past, so I'm not quite sure where I stand on this currently, but people have said, use your credit card to pay things like a phone bill, which is a regular monthly bill, because this is a way to build your credit score. So for example, if your phone bill is £30 a month and you're using your credit card to pay that on a monthly basis, you're spending on your credit card, but at the end of the month, you're paying that £30 per month without fail. You're not leaving any balance. There's nothing due at the end of the month. It's cleared off. So this is one way to build the credit where you're because you need to be seen to be spending on that card as well as
Yeah. Yes.
as well as clearing it off.
Split the difference and yeah.
I would
Apologies
also
with that. I think we had an interference. Apologies. Continue.
I would also probably say that look at low interest cards. Look at cards that maybe give you a reward back. So like a cashback reward. Look at things like that. Do your comparison. You know, check all the different cards. Try and keep the interest. Like when you look for the interest, try and keep it below the double digit. You don't want something like 20%, 30%. Try and keep them below that double digit interest rate figure. But I think when we're going towards credit, our mindset has to be correct. You have to understand that it's not your money. You are expected to pay it back, and being consistent with that, and knowing that circumstances and situations can change. So if you decide to start off in this credit journey and your circumstances change 6 months, 7 months, and you're not able to afford what you've started off with, like you said, it can actually work against you because you're trying to build credit to begin with when you make that decision to get a credit card. But 7 months down the line, your circumstances have changed. So for example, you lose your job. So at the start of the 7 months ago, you thought that you could afford to have this £300 credit card and be paying £30 a month on it, whatever the case may be. And 7 months down the line, you've now lost a way to clear this off. So I think we need to plan for that it is, you have to think ahead. You have to have like maybe a 12-month plan, knowing that if I'm going to start this journey, if it's slowly to just build my credit history, you have to be consistent. You have to be intentional. You have to manage it because you could easily slip into, like you said, missed payments, late fees. You can default on that card, all because you're trying to build a credit history. So I think you can start on the cash journey. There are people who can live comfortably without actually going down the credit route. But if you choose to go down this credit route, you have to have the right mindset around it. But definitely do a comparison. Search for those cards that are affordable to your own needs, your own situation. Know that you can clear that off in 12 months. You can actually clear that off consistently to help you to build your credit card before you even go to, even if currently you can access a larger amount. So for example, if the £300 is a lower limit, but you can access something even higher, don't be swayed into going for something bigger because you may not have that muscle in place to be consistent, to be disciplined, to cover that. So I would say keep it as low as possible. Check that you are disciplined. You can easily fall. Definitely, it's so tempting.
Thank you, Coach Augusta. You've just given us like the 101 when it comes to when you're new to that. And there is so much wisdom there. One thing you said that's very important there is people should not get comfortable with a credit facility. It is not your money. There is an expectation that you have to pay it back, and not just by paying it back, but that expectation means there has to be most of the time an expected return when it comes to that. Some people, sometimes you can say they've got this credit, this 0% APR thing, they were doing on credit cards where transfer balances and all of that, and people get into the trap of, one thing I talk to there is, when you play the game with this company, these companies, they have done enough research to understand human behaviors. And all they're counting on there is statistics shows them that over 65% of people will eventually get into a life situation whereby they trying to actually outsmart them backfires. So I tell people that, number one, don't try to play smart. Number two, I say I'm not a believer. I tell people said, oh, you need credit cards to build credit history. No, you don't. I tell people that you can, if you really want to build assets, and the first biggest ticket asset is actually what your home, you can actually get a good mortgage rate without you having any credit card debts. I tell people there's so many other ways for you to build credit. You can make sure that you pay your phone bills regularly. all those things count to it. You can make sure you pay your council bill regularly. You can make sure you're on the voters roll. There is a lot of things that actually contribute towards your credit score beyond you actually going within credit card. And most people are not financially mature enough before they start playing with the fire of credit. And once they get there, and what you're trying to create is already dead, and the consequences are a lot harsher than what you're looking to get out of it. So thank you very much for that. My opinion about it personally, I would rather, I tell people if you're new to finance, you're trying to get yourself on that straight path, just stay out of debt completely. Because debt has been weaponized to the point whereby buy now, pay later. Right now, it's so easy. If you want to buy something, they'll tell you split the payments in 3 months. No, it is free for 90 days. How many people actually do keep track of, okay, I've got an APR for 90 days, I've got to pay back. And there's a small print that tells you the interest rate is going to be 47 point something. The average interest rate right now is between 47% and 60 something percent on credit cards. So that means for every £100 you spend, you're expected to pay 47 pounds back. So I tell people, if you're going to play with it, if you're new to this journey, whatever you do, just stay out of this. So thank you very much for that, Coach Augusta. I've got a personal question I want to ask you, Coach Augusta. Now, if I come to you right now and I said, okay, Coach Augusta, I'm in a little bit of a tight. There's something, a course I need to go on. I cannot afford the course now, but if I can save up for 6 months, I should be able to get the course. But if I actually use a credit facility, I pay a little bit more, then I get to go for the course now. However, there is no guarantee of return in the training I'm going to go for. It's just part of my personal development that eventually I hope that skill set will be able to come useful later on. What would you say if I was your client and I came to you with that scenario?
This is the thing. Without getting more information from that person, it's kind of difficult to tell them whether or not you should use your credit in that way. Because what you're not telling me is what other credit or how much debt are you currently in? And yes, you don't know for sure whether if you start this course and you use your credit to pay for this course, whether you'll be able to get a job at the end of this course. You don't know if that's what a student loan is, really and truly. People start off in debt. 3 years later, they're unemployed. And then they're £50,000 and all kinds in debt. So I think it's quite difficult. If a client was to come to me with that kind of information, I'll need more information. I'll need to understand what they've been doing so far. Could you wait for 6 months to be able to just use cash to pay for this course? Is there something else? Is there another way? Could you maybe increase your income? I think it'll be a case of looking at your current situation, looking at how you are currently managing your finances, looking at how much debt you're in, looking at other options, thinking probably further ahead. This is a short-term goal. So you've said in 6 months' time, you're going to want to complete this course and maybe look to get into work. So maybe looking at planning medium-term goals and looking even further ahead. What will be your plan to repay this loan if you decide to go forward and do this? So I think you probably need more information before telling the person yes or no, use a card or credit card to pay for a course, because you don't know for sure. You really do not know for sure what's going to happen in 6 months' time. So why use credit to begin with when you could probably just do other things, try and get cash and try and pay for a course in 6 months' time? You can say education is an asset, but at the same time, student loans are very expensive. And a lot of people are finishing university and they're unemployed and they've got this big debt on their shoulders. So yeah, there's a lot of other questions that will probably need to be asked and answered before you can say yes or no.
Thank you, Coach. So what you're telling people there is no one size fits all. So don't try to get a solution quickly without seeing the full picture. And one of the things I pick from there is anytime there is a desperation, there is an urgency, you need to find out really, is that really urgent? Do you really need that education? if I tell you the number of things I've done in life, I know there's something that we do say, knowledge is cumulative and all of that. And I'm thinking to myself that, I studied architecture, my first degree. I did my MBA. I became a SaaS programmer. I could write program. I could write codes. I'm a project consultant. And each of these things, they've all contributed in one way or the other to make me who I am today. I appreciate that. But when I look back and I think to myself that, could I have saved myself some money and some time in some things? And I think the honest answer is, yeah, actually, yes. I think sometimes we in the name of we trying to call education an asset, we get into debt because we're actually trying to run away from something. And I see a lot of young people do that. Like when they finish school, there's no clarity in terms of purpose to start with. And the next thing is, oh, there's an easy government student loan there. What am I doing? I don't know. Let me just get to university. I pick any course. And the course you've picked, by the time you finish, there is a computer software that can actually do what you do. You go and study accounting, and I'm sorry, I just picked accounting. I'm not saying this to accountants, although you guys do amazing job. But there is a software called Xero or QuickBook or one of these things that you could plug into your bank account that could actually do your filings with HMRC and things like that are what people need to consider. Because I was when you look at you touch on something very, very sensitive there. Student loan. What is your take on it? Because I know this was not part of what we're going to talk about, but it's one of the things that really makes me feel. Imagine a young person, you finished high school, you finish, you don't know that much. And all of a sudden, the expectation there is you've got to go to the university without clarity. And then you're going to take this loan. And before you know, by the time you finish university, number one, you end up in a call center. You become a call center manager where other people you're working with, you don't need a degree to do that. What would you say to the young people out there who are actually probably just finished their GCSE and maybe they've got this, I think UCAS letter is coming up now. They can see, oh, I've been picked for this course, but really what they're looking at is not just a degree, it's the number of years you carry 50, 60,000 debts. And it's the only debt that is not forgivable in the UK. Even if you file for bankruptcy, your student loan is there, it does not go away. How would you speak to younger people about this in terms of from your perspective?
I think that I don't blame the young people for wanting to go to university and wanting to study and upskill themselves. I don't blame them at all and having that desire to go forward to do that. I blame the institutions because I think they build these courses up, and all courses are sold to every young person, every student, to say, you're going to do this, you're going to learn these skills, and by the end of it, you're going to get into this career and this job. And they're going to choose you because you did the degree, and then you're going to be the manager, or you're going to have the senior position. This is what the institutions and those lecturers, this is what they build their courses up to be. And not all courses are equal. There are some courses where we can see the pathway. We know that as you're training, there is a job for you at the end of it. There's some professions that you know is needed, and you're going to have a job at the end of it. And there are others that no, you're there because maybe you have an interest in it. And I think as adults, as parents, we need to guide our young people and show them the reality that, yeah, let's not be talking about so much about chasing passions and chasing interests, because at the end of the day, you are going to go 3 years, 4 years, do a degree. And let's be real, you're going into a job market. You still have to fend for yourself, and you need to choose something that's going to sustain you. It's cute 3 years when you're thinking, oh, this is my passion. I love whatever it is that I love, and I want to do it, and I love it wholeheartedly, and I'm going to spend 3 years in doing it without a guaranteed idea of how you're going to finish. I've got family members who they've done one course because they're passionate about it. Now they're doing the waiting or waitressing, whatever, and that's not what they really want to do. But they realize that they have to sustain themselves. So I don't blame the young people at all. I think we do have to address some of these courses that are being sold to our young people. And I think, yes, if our parents could to plan way ahead for us and start saving way ahead for us, knowing that this is the course that we want our children to take, we've been saved, if I knew, I would have saved from when my kids, when I knew I was pregnant, start saving for a university, so they wouldn't have to necessarily rely on a student loan. So I think if we can do some early planning, that would be great for our young people. And yeah, if our young people do choose whatever they choose, I chose communications. That was my degree, and I was hoping to become a presenter or broadcaster. But no one tells you. I think you can be very passionate at 18. I want to do this thing. I don't want to. Nobody told me. I moved from London to the Midlands, and there's no jobs in the media industry. There was no jobs in communication, so I had to pivot. So I'd graduated with a degree in communications and media, but I had to pivot when I got to the Midlands, because it's not like London, where there was a little bit of some kind of job market, although it was quite competitive, but there's nothing in the Midlands. So I had to really pivot and go into finances and accounting. So that was my choices at the end of the day. So I think it can be quite tough for our young people.
Thank you so much, Coach Augusta. I know this is something that I'm very passionate about in terms of financial literacy. You leaned onto something there. That means the consequences most of these young children are facing right now was probably because of lack of financial literacy from their parents and lack of planning ahead. Because really, if you've actually, from the moment you're pregnant for a child, it is no longer, it's no longer an accident, it's there. And you're hoping by the time the earliest the child could go to university is between 16 and 18. So you've got 16, 10 to 16, from 0 to 16, well, not 0, from 1 to 16 years to plan. So that means if you've actually been setting aside a particular amount of money for all of that 16 years, it will go a long way to actually ease that financial burden of somebody who is 18 years old. And I was doing some study and trying to understand the decision-making process of humans, just to be able to understand, behavioral finance and all of that. And I came across a research which says the part of our brain that is responsible for making decision is not fully fledged, fully formed and functional until we are about the age of 25. And Coach Augusta, that thing shocked me. So that means we are asking an 18-year-old to make a decision on their future, which has got time and financial consequences, where they were not equipped and there was not enough guidance to help them in that direction. So thank you so much for that. I'm very passionate about that. And I tell people that there are other ways, especially because I don't know why we keep going back to the student loan thing. We'll still go around. I think I've got 1 or 2 more questions for you, if you don't mind. And I think I tell people, like, there are other options. When I speak to parents, like, when your child was about to get into uni, a year or so before that, how many letters of sponsorships did you try to access? People don't know there are funds out there, there are sponsorship. I was speaking to a parent. I was like, did you really find out how many sponsorships are out there in terms of being able to get sponsorships to actually go to university? People from outside of the country get it. There are some of them within the country, of any country you're in, there are sponsorships. How many letters did you write? Someone will say, I tell someone that, why don't you give this a trial? Write a letter to 50,000 companies and charitable organizations seeking sponsorship and see how many responses you get back from there. If we play that by the rule of response of 10%, if you write 10,000, 1,000 respond to you. If 1,000 respond to you and you get a sponsorship of £500 from 1,000, that should be enough to sponsor you through university. But these are some of the routes in which a lot of people they're not exploring. I think people feel like, how can I write 10,000 letters? Yes, if you want to be debt-free in 5 years, why don't you actually give it that effort? And I think not having that financial guidance with some people in terms of there are other ways to go about it for you to see if there's help out there. So thank you very much for that. And everyone, please, if you're young, you don't know what to do with your finances, or you're not sure about direction, please do follow Coach Augusta. Coach Augusta is very, very passionate. Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to add something. What I do tell parents now is there are junior ISAs. So like we said, that if you can plan way ahead, if you start putting money away in your junior ISA for for your baby, if when you find out you're pregnant or whatever, you start putting money away in your junior ISAs, that will build to the point where your child will not need to access student loan when it's time, when they're 18 or 19. They will need to access that. So there are ways that I did not know, my parents did not know, but you can, if you're starting off now, you can start planning ahead for your young person.
Okay, Coach Augusta, you just touched on something. So, what is a junior ISA then? I'm just playing that for people out there thinking, okay, she said junior ISA. What does that mean? Just for people to be able to understand in terms of when we're talking about junior ISA, what it means and why they should actually consider that as an option for people in the UK.
It's a savings account really for children. So you have an ordinary ISA, interest saving account, so you can access that through any bank account. That's for adults, but you can actually access a junior ISA, which is a junior savings account for young people. And every bank account has, you can open a bank account and start putting money away in there. And I think it's the interest you probably can't quote me on this. So I will need to check the interest rate on that. But yeah, that's something that parents can actually have access to, and that's for any parent.
Thank you very much, Coach Augusta. And if I'm correct, I think you don't pay tax to a particular, well, there is a limit in terms of how much you can actually put into
Yeah,
it
you can put
tax-free.
in. Yeah, and I think
Yeah, tax-free, okay.
there was a recent change. I think like you can probably put away maybe 20,000, but I'm not correct. I'm not necessarily like queued up
Aware
on
of the
the
latest figures, yeah.
yeah, but I think it's about 20,000 tax-free that you can put away per year.
Wow. So that means with intention, your children could actually go to university debt-free if the parents actually plan ahead.
If
By
you
the
plan
time you give
ahead.
them back to them, they're going to go to school. That one, it's inevitable. You're going to go to school and you're hoping they will go to university. And eventually, if they grow up and they don't want to go down the university route, that funds is still there. They could always deploy it, maybe use it as deposit for their first mortgage or whatever they want to do. Thank you, Coach Augusta. I've got a question before I go to my last one. Let me quickly read it out. The question says, I have joined a couple of sessions and I can infer that the cost a young person chooses to engage with can significantly impact their finances. How can you guide young people to choose well and adapt to their finances early? That one is for you, Coach Augusta.
I think yes. If you can talk to a young person, I know I was not the easiest person to talk to. My parents struggled with me too. But there is a game I've heard of that parents use to present real life scenarios to their young people. So if you start off early, for example, and present, the game is you have envelopes with different career choices and professions. And then you also have another envelope with expenses in there. And then you teach your young person, okay, choose one of these envelopes, these professions. I'm going to be a lawyer, I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to be whatever the case may be. Choose, and they have a salary in there. And then versus these are the expenses, your monthly expenses. Now deduct from your salary these expenses. Then that will show you what you'll be left with at the end of each month. So you tell me now, if you have a plan for your life or you want to live a certain lifestyle based on your choice with your profession and minus your expenses, could you live that lifestyle that maybe you want to travel? Maybe you want to travel 3-4 times a year. What you've chosen minus your expenses, does that allow you to have that money to travel or to do the things that you want to do? I think it's important to have these conversations with our young people. It's important to show them with real life scenarios, not to say that, God forbid, you're not going to be this career, you're not going to do, not to have that kind of combative conversations with them, but to present them with real life scenarios that if you choose this career, I know I spoke to one of my relatives and I said, well, if you're going to go down this path, know for a fact you're choosing to be an entrepreneur, and know for a fact that there's no job at the end of it. Know what you're choosing and open your eyes to see what the choices that you've made. And if you choose a different option, yes, it may not be your passion, but just think through what you want at the end of the day. What lifestyle do you want to live? So it's not so much us putting our own ideas on them, but helping them to make those decisions. But whatever decisions that they choose, they know I chose this. But at the end of the day, you can always pivot. There's always you have to allow them to come to that conclusions themselves, I believe.
Hey, Coach Augusta, you just hit another thing that it's one of my passion, and that is when it comes to passion and duty. I tell young people around me, my daughter, people around me, I was like, when it comes to you deciding the future you want, it is good for you to really have a passion. But the most important thing there is the way you are, where you are in life, and where you're going so in life is you don't have enough foresight to see how long that passion would go. Is this passion, is it just a phase in your life you're going through and saying, because you like music, you now want to go and study music in the university for 4 years? And by the time you spend the second year, you think music is the R&B you're hearing. No, you get to university and you find out that all you hear about music there is sola sola or whatever they do in music and things like that. I tell people that don't base your life decision based on the passion, because number one, what if that changes? I've had times where my daughters will say, oh, they want to learn piano. They start learning piano today. Before you know it, 3 months down the line, oh, it is guitar they want. They start doing that, so they come up with things. And it's good because what they're experimenting, they're trying to locate themselves. They're trying to find themselves. So when you are in to find yourself, seek help. Speak to people around. I tell people around that what I do there is I tell you what the fact is. The fact there is, okay, based on what is happening, what do you think will be more relevant in the next 4 years? You're going to be in university for 3 to 4 years. Why don't you see what is feasible? And we are in a time whereby you have to be very careful which tunnel you go through right now, especially with the emergence of AI and a few other things that is happening. It used to be before that people say it's just do anything tech, you're going to be fine. No, it's not a lie. You're not going to be fine. Right now, AI writes better code. So if you think you're going to survive on being a coding, you write code and things like that, there are AIs that is writing more efficient programming codes than you will do. So it's a matter of you now taking that, before you take that leap, make sure you speak to people, get coaches, get people that will be able to give you what I call give you a synopsis of what the next dispensation is going to be like. And I tell people the next dispensation, there's so many roads people are not talking about. I'm not giving anybody any ideas right now, but people are still not, there are no lawyers that are actually sitting in the middle of artificial intelligence and human relationship. There are no lawyers, there are a very shortage of lawyers, people who specialize within that role. What about blockchain technology and how the transitioning from what we know as current finance into the new one? There's so many roles that is emerging because of the new technology we have right now. And those roles have not been formally fledged, but it's about being able to have a foresight and a discussion about the future. So I tell young people, don't make future decisions based on your current passion. Your ability to decide right now is not even fully fledged. Go 6 months down the line. I would like to see the statistics when it comes to dropouts in university. It's a pity I couldn't get the data before today. I wanted to see really that, are there more people switching between courses? Are there more people actually dropping out? And what is the rate between what people start with, what people graduate with, and the volume of people that starts and people that finish? Actually, I'm going to do a research on that one today. So thank you very much for that. I know I'm running a bit late on time, and I will ask you the last question from me now. Coach Augusto, what would you tell a young person out there or somebody who life is giving them a second chance? What do I mean? When you wake up this morning, life just gave you a second chance. When is the best time to plant a tree? 10 years ago. When is the next time to plant another one? It is now. So what would be your words for someone out there who truly is listening to this and feels, okay, I've made a mess with my finances, I've made a mess with this, but I want to give all of this a new shot. How do I go about it?
Oh, I think you should have hope, most definitely. I think we've all been in that situation where we've made a mess with our finances. We're not sitting here as we've got it right the whole time. So most definitely, you've got another chance. You just do better. And I think don't overwhelm yourself by trying to do everything at once. What I like to do is the key is to have a plan. Look at and not be so afraid. I think people get very anxious. People don't want to talk about it. There's a lot of shame around just when you've made a mess with finances. Don't feel ashamed. Don't feel anxious. There are things that you can do. There are agencies that can help you. There are professionals that you can help you seek guidance. And I think like someone always says, is it when you wake up, that's your morning, or something like that, that phrase, that's your morning. And I feel like if you've now seen the light, you can plan around just one aspect, one core principle. So for example, if it's a case of my debt is just overwhelming. Okay, so let's put a plan in place with regards to debt. Let's look at the strategies around debt, whether it's the snowball method, whether it's the avalanche method, whatever strategy you need to put in place with regards to that, do that. If you feel like, okay, my plan is to purchase a property in a year, 2 years' time, look at what you need, go into property webinars, go and find out some more information, do your research, and start focusing on that one goal. What I like for people to start doing is, I don't know how your audience even feels about this, but I really like the power of visioning, like doing a vision board. And I think if you can see it, if you can start to dream your next chapter, start to see it, then look at setting goals, then breaking down your goals into something that's quite actionable, quite achievable, and then go forward in that way. I think what you also say, what Power to Know does, you have accountability. So you need to have someone who can be accountable to what you're trying to do now. So yeah, there is hope. It's not the end. It's definitely not the end. You can actually, there was a time where I was £16,000 in debt. And I know that I'm no longer £16,000 in debt. So at that point, I'm sure that for somebody else would be like, whoa, my goodness, there's no way, that's too much. I can't even climb out of that. But I did. So if I can do that, most definitely, it's a new day. You can do it. You can move on, and it's fine. You'll be fine.
Thank you very, very much, Coach Augusta. That is brilliant. So my takeaway from what you've just said right now, my key takeaway is number one, whenever the dawn comes is your morning. Right now it's your morning. There is no better time than today for you to do. Number two, do not use the ostrich approach. Don't put your head in the sand. Everything is not going to be fine. Que sera, whatever will not be. So I always bust people's bubbles there. Que sera belongs to the movies. If you don't do nothing, it gets worse. So that means face the problem you have. Whatever it is, there is a solution out there, and heaven is not falling down. So whatever it is, there are steps for you to get out of them. The most important thing there is take the first step, get help, get knowledge, get counsel, get accountability. You've got people like Coach Augusta. Follow them. She's written amazing books. Follow her content. She does a lot of events. She does. Follow them to get knowledge. People want to know, but people are not willing to learn. That is what I find. People want a quick fix. You know, it took you 10 years to get into this mess, but you want a silver bullet to get you out of debt. I tell people, see, it's easy to get into debt. That's the trap of credit. Credit is easy to access, but when you misuse it, for you to get out of the trap of debt, it takes you years to get out of. So it does not mean because you're in it, you cannot get out, but you need to understand you've got to give it time. There is no silver bullet. If anybody tells you that it can fix your credit history once you get into debt and credit mess, it's a lie. The footprint is there. It takes, in the UK, that I know very well, it takes 6 years for any bad credit to completely be removed from your record. And that is not even guaranteed. So thank you very much, Coach Augusta. Thank you for always being available to us. It's about the second or third time we're bringing you here. We love your content. And please, everybody, can you please express that gratitude to Coach Augusta? I someone asked a question, which while we're going, the person says, can you explore junior ISA even if you don't have kids yet? I like people who are already
That's
looking into the
fantastic.
future.
Yeah. I'm not sure if you can without children, but obviously you can just start with a savings pot. I mean, that doesn't stop you. Start with a savings pot. It's the same principle, you know, just make sure that you're saving with your future kids in mind.
Can you see that? I heard this from someone which says, thank you very much for that, that complicating makes you look intelligent. Simplicity is where the solution is. So you don't need to look for anything special if you don't have. Start with the habit of saving first. Set something aside for the future and for the future of the children. Now, if you can then use ISA, ISA is just a tool, but a habit is much more important than the tool you use to deploy that. So that is amazing. So thank you very much, Coach Augusta. With just 2 minutes to go, and let me see, do we have any more questions before we let Coach Augusta go this night? I'm just going to count 1 to 2. Any question from our online audience, from YouTube, from here, Zoom, anybody? Okay. If there are any other questions, Coach Augusta, thank you so much. And I'm going to say, do you have any parting words for us so that we can call it good night then? This will be the last time I'll ask for your parting words.
I just love to encourage people, and I think it's not the end of the world. You can always, I definitely believe in having a plan in mind. Take time to envision your future, a better future for yourself. Definitely take action. Do something about it. Don't bury your head in shame. Don't feel anxious about anything. That's what the Bible says. Do not be anxious for anything. So definitely go forward, be encouraged that things can get better. So that's how I'll leave you guys tonight.
Thank you so much, Coach Augusta. It's another amazing webinar today. So everybody hear the keywords, have a plan. Don't walk in blindfolded. Get knowledge, get counsel. If you're not in any mess yet, make sure you get counsel before you get into the mess. If you're in the mess already, trust me, it's not the end of the world. Today is your morning. Get counsel, get a plan. Most importantly, I like that thing you keep hammering. Have a plan you work with. Have a vision board. The mess you're in, see how you're getting out of it. So thank you very much, Coach Augusta. I'm going to be calling it a day now. And then everybody, till we see you again next month. Thank you for your time, everyone. And everybody, please, can you please give Coach Augusta a round of applause? If you enjoyed today, you enjoyed the value she's given us, can you please express that in the chat? Let her feel the love from everybody here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm not feeling the love, but the love, I need to feel the love so that the love can spill over to Coach Augusta. So let's feel the love there. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. Oh, okay. Yeah, we're feeling it now. A little bit more heat, more intensity. Okay. Thank you very much, Coach Augusta. And then till next time again from Power to Know team, have a good evening. And